I want to ask you, who do you think won this fight? And who were you more impressed with? So bedtime, we'll start with you. Then we'll
Yep.
go to Jacob, and then we'll go to me.
All right, cool. Am I good to go? All right.
Yeah.
I just want to. I'm more impressed. Obvious, like the clear answer is fucking Alexander Volkanovski. Dude, Alexander Volkanovski surpassed every expectation and more. He gave Islam his toughest test. I think, in a way, Islam lost because of how much his mystique is kind of gone from how well Volkanovski did against him. And look, I'm gonna be clear. I think Islam won the fight. I think Islam won the fight. But if you think Volkanovski won, that's okay. If you had Volkanovski, round 2 and round 3 were extremely close. Round 5 was very clearly Volkanovski's. I had round 1 for Islam. I thought he was losing at first. He got rocked. Then he hit him with that right hook that kind of stumbled him. I don't think it dropped him, but it kind of put him off balance. And then he landed a really good head kick, took him down, took his back, won the round off the back take. I think we can all kind of agree on that. Maybe not, but I think that kind of stole him the round, that back take, and controlling him for the end of that round. Round 2 was kind of close. I gave it to Volk because his striking was more effective. I know Lucas is ready to be like, fuck no. But dude, his striking was more effective. None of Islam's grappling did anything in that round. So I gave that to Volk. You know what I mean? I'm not saying grappling wins regardless, right? If the striking is better and the grappling's not enough, then the grappling's not enough. Round 3, I don't think there really was much grappling in round 3. I need to rewatch it, but I gave it to Islam in the moment. I need to rewatch it. I gave it to Islam. But again, close round. Round 4 is what I'm willing to, the hill that I'm going to die on, dude.
Let's hear
round 4. Okay. If you have round 4 for Volkanovski based off damage, right? What damage did he do, bro? Now on the feet, it was very, very close. There was now, let's say that if Volkanovski dropped him in round 4, he was fucking him up on the feet and he took the back. That's one thing, okay? I would give that round to Volkanovski. I'm not biased. I'm fucking Australian, bro. Why would I be biased against Volk? I just need to make that clear. But dude, Islam, the striking was close on the feet. Islam took him down with a beautifully timed takedown. No one's acknowledging that. Got his back, which is very hard to do. Controlled him on the back with a body lock. At that point, if he's hand fighting, which Volk did very well to defend the chokes, it's Volkanovski's job to get Islam off his back. He didn't do it. Islam effectively controlled him, grappled him from the best position, scoring-wise in MMA, the best position you can get in grappling. If you've never grappled, you don't really realize how hard it is to actually do that. But Islam did that for 2.5 minutes. He won that round, in my opinion. Round 5, I'm never going to argue that Volkanovski didn't win that. That was obviously Volkanovski's round. He finished so strong. It was an amazing performance from Volk. It's weird. I think Volk performed better, but Islam won based on round-by-round scoring. That's just how MMA goes. That round 4 is not contentious, in my opinion. Every other round, round 2, round 3, very contentious. But even if you want to argue round 1, I'm like, I can see an argument for that. But me personally, I had it for Islam. That's how I had it. I had it 3-2 Islam.
All right.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I thought it was 4-1 Islam.
Damn.
I'm not like I love Volk also. I just think I just have to go with my reaction when I was watching it. I just like that first round I had Islam. Second round was really close.
Yeah.
But I slightly edged it out to Islam. But that round was closer. I rewatched Weasel's breakdown. He had said Volk won round 2, but I think it was very close. When I was watching, I thought Islam though. Round 3 wasn't that the round where Islam had him like on his back? It was on Volk's back.
That was 4.
So round 3 was the striking round.
They were striking. Volk.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to really remember. I think 4. I think
striking. The most striking took place in round 3. That was the round where the majority of the round, more than any other round, took place on the feet.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to rewatch that round, but I remember round 4 where Islam had Volk's back, and Volk was doing those stupid punches from behind that didn't do anything, that wouldn't even hurt anybody.
I mean, that's true.
I thought that was a clear Islam round. Round 5 was definitely Volk. Round 3, I got to rewatch it, but when I was watching it live, I thought it was Islam. I thought Islam was winning every single round other than round 5, and I think he was winning round 5. Until that knockdown, because that knockdown was crazy and that completely. I mean, if there was 30 more seconds,
dude, he could have finished him. He could have finished him in that round, yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think though, like who I'm more impressed with, I mean, it's got to be Volk. You know, I mean, like I straight up, like we said last week, we were like, okay, like we think Islam is gonna run through
Yeah.
Volk, finish him in the first round, finish him in the second round, finish him in the third round. If it goes past the third round, we're shocked. You know what I mean? And Volk was amazing. Like all these rounds were pretty close. That's the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though I'm saying that I saw it 4-1, each round was very close. And a lot of these rounds, you can make arguments that either guy won, which is the crazy thing about it. You know what I'm saying? But when I was watching it straight up, I thought Islam was up in those, winning those rounds. But though Volk was more impressive, and I was shocked, and I personally, like, I got to give Volk all the credit. But I also do think Islam didn't have his best fight. I think he fell in love with his striking, similar to what Khamzat did, but a little bit less bad. And I think that hurt him in the fight. I think maybe if he shot more takedowns from the start, I think he would have done better. But because some of those takedowns, he was getting Volk down quite easily in certain instances. He just wasn't able to keep him down.
Yeah.
Besides the fourth round. So I think if he started with going with takedowns earlier, I think he may have had more success. I also think I hate to say it, like I don't want to like make excuses, but in my eyes, he looked skinnier. In my eyes, he looked skinnier than he did against Charles. I pulled it up again yesterday, both fights, and he looked skinnier. Even at the weigh-ins, I think like the ceremonial weigh-ins, he looked a little skinnier too. It was very slim. Volk is a 145er, so it really shouldn't be making much of a difference. But that could have been a factor. I mean, like he missed, like he could have had like 8 more hours left to rehydrate. That could be a factor. I mean, you got to think of it though. Like he was cutting weight brutally like 25 hours before that.
Dude,
Like
Volk
that's not
looks
that
big
much
too,
time.
though. Volk did look bigger than I thought he would as well.
Also, Volk,
I think
I
that
mean,
was a factor in it.
it was easy for him to rehydrate. He probably lost like 10 pounds.
He
Like
looked buff, bro. He looked
like
bigger than he usually
he
does.
was ready. Also, I think the Australia crowd really helped Volk out. Yeah, I think if they rematched, I think Islam would fight a lot smarter. They would be in like a common area, not in someone's home area or whatever. And I think Islam would win easier. But the thing about Volk that I do have to say is you're not going to submit him through like on his neck. He has no neck. You're not going to get like a rear naked choke on him. Like Islam was trying to do that, and like I remember people were saying this beforehand, like. And you're not going to submit Volk like that. You're going to have to submit him with an arm triangle or something like that, or arm bar, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was more impressed by Volk. I think I was at first before the fight, I was like, okay, like I think Ilya Tapira may be able to beat Volk, but now I'm taking Volk over anybody in that featherweight division, and I think anybody in that lightweight division, besides maybe Rafael Fiziev. I could
understand
the
that.
striking could really cause him problems, but I think Volk's speed, and stuff like that is just like would kill guys like Poirier, kill guys like Gaethje. I think he would knock down Charles. I think he'd finish Charles straight up. Unless Charles could get come in with like get onto him with a crazy submission. But I'd pick Volk against Charles, and maybe Benny. Maybe Benny would have success against Volk, but. I don't know. I think Volk really surprised me. He is still my number 1 pound for pound fighter. Although Islam won, I think Volk is still the best fighter in the world, as he was the weight class below, went against a way bigger guy, and like a guy who was literally wrestling since he was born. He couldn't like do much to him on the ground. Like that's insane. So I still think Volk is my number 1 pound for pound fighter, but Islam beat him, so I don't really mind it. But yeah, I'm definitely way more impressed by Volk. But I did think that Islam didn't fight his best possible fight.
All right. First thing I want to say, I'm going to respond to the chat first, and then I'm going to get into my big take. Big Chiling says, Islam didn't have 200 plus hours to put on more weight, so it's not fair. Listen, Islam didn't get his pedicure, right? He didn't get a nice massage before the fight. He didn't go on a vacation. Okay, he didn't have 100 extra pounds. Guys, the 8 hours that Islam would have had in another place, to me, may have had a tiny effect, but I still think at the end of the fight, Volkanovski's the one pulling through. And who was I more impressed with before I give my overall take on the fight? And I want to say this. I rewatched the fight this morning and I was extremely analytical. I'm talking about the second round, the third round, and the fourth round, because the first is for Islam, the fifth is for Volk, clear as day. I was so analytical. I was pausing after every single strike, rewinding it 3-4 seconds, and watching it again and again and again, just to make sure I could be objective as possible. So I'll get into my take on the fight. I still have Volk winning. Who was I more impressed with? I think it's much more impressive for Alexander Volkanovski, the smaller man, to basically completely nullify the best grappler in the entirety of the UFC, who everyone was ranking in their tier lists as the number one guy, who everyone was saying was the best grappler, bar none, everyone was saying was a stylistic nightmare for Volkanovski. It's more impressive to shut that guy's grappling down, to laugh in his face and shit talk him for 2 minutes and 30 seconds while he's on your back, holding on for dear life, where at the end of the fight, you are beating the fuck out of him. That's more impressive than Islam, who everyone knew going into this fight was a good, clean, crisp striker with power, who was the hardest man to hit in the UFC. Statistically, the hardest guy to hit in the UFC. Him having success with Volkanovski on the feet, to me, is way less impressive based on the fact that we've seen that time and time again. We've seen guys like Kamaru Usman outstrike Leon Edwards. We've seen guys like Colby Covington outstrike Jorge Masvidal. These are phenomenal strikers losing rounds on the feet based on the fact that there's a threat of the takedown. Islam, the hardest man to hit in the UFC, was winning rounds because he had the threat of the takedown. And Jacob, I do want to say this. I disagree on the point that if Islam wrestled more, he would have had more success, because the success that he had in this fight came from the stand-up. He won round one with the grappling and the stand-up. That's the one round that he actually won with both, because he did drop Volkanovski to one knee and then had a neck crank on him and was kind of bullying him badly on the ground. But in the fourth round, he didn't win that with his grappling. And in the third round, he won that round clearly. I'll get into the fight. I have Volk winning 3-2. The first is for Islam, clear as day. The fifth is for Volkanovski, clear as day. I rewatched the second, third, and fourth. Third round, trying to be objective as possible. It was hard for me to watch it because at the end, I was tallying all the strikes. Islam Makhachev won the third round. And while I was watching it live, I texted you, Jacob, and I said, that's Volk's round. I take it back. I think Islam wins that round. I rewatched the second round. There is no debate for me that Islam wins that round, because Alexander Volkanovski, when I tallied up all the strikes, and I'm looking at it right now, Alexander Volkanovski had 23 significant strikes landed from what I've counted, and Islam had 19. And Islam had a big moment in the second round, which is originally what made me give him the round. It's when he hit Volkanovski with a big straight left, and Volkanovski wobbled a little bit. And I rewatched it back. He was not hurt at all. He was going back really quickly. He was caught off guard, kind of caught off balance. And immediately after, when Islam tries to throw another flurry of punches at him, Volkanovski's lucid. He's moving. He's got his head movement. He's dodging shots. He's there. So I no longer am looking at that strike as if it's something that wobbled Volk. I don't think it wobbled him. The biggest strike Islam landed on Volk was in the first round where he dropped him to one knee. Now, the second is for Volkanovski, clear as day. He outstruck Islam. The fifth is for Volkanovski, clear as day. The debate is with the fourth. I want to just say this. Volkanovski was outstriking Islam Makhachev on the feet. Now, when I tallied up the significant strikes, Volk has 6, Islam has 4. When I watched it live this morning and I was counting every strike, Volkanovski, when we're going with, total strikes landed on the feet, had about 11. Islam had 8. There is no way before he gets his back taken that Islam's winning that round. Okay, now let's go to him getting his back taken. Of course, it's a dominant position. And we've seen guys in a dominant position like Petr Yan lose a round to Aljamain Sterling. The difference here is that Aljamain Sterling had Petr Yan freaked out, fighting for his life, doing nothing, and Aljamain in those rounds was actually punching Yan in the face and shit-talking him. We didn't see Islam shit-talking Volkanovski in these positions. We saw him holding on, hiding his head. He landed a total of 5 shots on Volkanovski, pepper shots. Volkanovski, for 2.5 minutes after outstriking Islam on the feet, hit Islam Makhachev, and I kid you not, at least 40 times in the face, and was shit-talking him and laughing at him. Now, if Islam was trying to advance the position, if he was trying to sink in a choke, if he was trying to land more offense, it would have been different. I am telling you guys, he was not doing anything after the first 40 seconds of that exchange. All he was doing for the last minute and a half was holding on. I cannot look at that and say that that wins you the round when you already got outstruck on the feet with significant strikes and total strikes, and you got outstruck on the ground. This is not a jiu-jitsu tournament. It's an MMA fight, and I have to look at who did more damage. If Islam Makhachev had nullified Alexander Volkanovski's strikes, if he did not get hit in the face 40 times, there's a different argument. The truth is, he didn't do anything with the position. I cannot give him that round. I understand giving him the round. I do. I get it. But he didn't outstrike Islam on the feet. Islam got outstruck in the beginning of that round. It was clear. You can rewatch it again. And then the fifth round is Volkanovski's. Now, who was I more impressed with? As I said, it's more impressive for a 145-pound striker to move up a weight class and to nullify the grappling of the best grappler in the UFC.
Yep.
And it's less impressive for Islam, who was already a good striker going into this, to get hit more times in this fight than he did by his last 6 opponents. So
What I do have to
look at his face after he looked like a zombie. That's all I want to say.
What I do have to say though is Islam did cut Volk's eye in that 4th round. Did cut up his eye or his forehead, one of the two.
And Volkanovski cut Islam in the 4th round on the eyebrow.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, dude, look.
Cut him in the 4th. He cut him in the 4th. Anyway,
those numbers, man.
I just want to finish it off by this. I think that Islam Makhachev is still a monster at 155 pounds. We're looking at other guys now and saying maybe he's more beatable. To me, I think that Volkanovski's speed, his striking, and his ability to be, very defensive on the ground makes him a problem for Islam. You look at a guy like Charles on the feet versus Islam, he gets drops night and day. The grappling is close, of course. And you look at a guy like Beneil Dariush has a big right hand, an overhand right, and that's kind of it. I don't think he is well-rounded enough on the feet to fuck with Islam. And everyone else in that division, like even Fiziev, if you're gassing out in the 2nd round versus Bobby Green and you have to slow down your fights to the point to where there's barely anything going on in the feet with Brad Riddell and RDA, and you're losing rounds to RDA and the pace is slow, I don't think he survives with Islam in that pace. And I also think that Volkanovski, I think he beats Islam in a rematch. I think he has easier adjustments to make. And if Islam wrestles more, he'll have the same amount of success with the wrestling as he did in this fight. His most offensive moment on the ground in this fight was a neck crank in the 1st round. Volkanovski's most offensive moment on the ground in this fight was in the 5th round. He was landing massive ground and pound shots. To me, Volkanovski, although he lost, he's not the pound for pound guy, because pound for pound for me is based on resume. And I'm not upset with you guys having Islam winning. I don't think it's 4-1. I think it has to be 3-2 if anything.
No, I agree.
But I do think that Volkanovski's still the most impressive, best skilled fighter on the planet right now. That's all I want to say. So
agreed.
Let's have a conversation about it, and then we'll get to the chat, guys.
Damn, bro. Can I respond to round 4?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I actually listen. Like I was expecting to like really disagree with you a lot, but I actually agree with a lot of what you said. Like especially about round 3, round 2. I agree with you on every other round except round 4. My only point is that 11-8 is not enough of an outstriking, in my opinion, to where it's not like a Jimmy Crute Alonzo Menafield where it's he got dropped so bad, he got fucked up on the feet. Like it's clearly Volk was winning, and then Islam's holding off for dear life. The start of that round, it's close on the feet. I would agree that Volk probably did better in the striking, but Islam took him down, which is an example of effective grappling. Got his back. Got the body lock, which is also like the most advantageous grappling position you can get. A referee will never break you from getting someone's back in an MMA fight unless you're Mark Goddard with fucking Kamaru Usman for some reason.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I know, ridiculous. But still, it's the most advantageous position you can get, right? And it's all about who's closer to finishing the fight. In my opinion, do the backwards punches of Volkanovski counter how effective Islam was controlling him in that round? Now, holding on is one way to describe it, but realistically, if you grapple, I hate to pull this card. Bro. I don't want to pull this card. I've done it. You don't do it, but dude, grappling, it's like that is the most important position for a reason. It is the most controlling position you can get. Yeah. A body lock, it's so valuable, and it rightfully should be. Volkanovski, his job, I'm sorry, it's not to back with rabbit punch. That was a cool moment. I loved that. I was cheering it in the pub. I wanted Volkanovski to win, but I have to admit that closer to finishing the fight, who's closer? Islam is closer because of the
Islam,
position he's in.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Inherently, he's in
But
a
can I-
closer position
yeah.
to finishing the fight. Do I agree that Volkanovski did more on the ground in terms of damage? Yes, obviously. I'm not saying Islam was like about to finish him, but who's in a better position to win the fight? Islam is. Islam's controlling him. He was hand fighting at the start of the round. He had a hook on his arm that he could have switched to an armbar, but he was being quite lazy. But at the same time, to control someone effectively is effective grappling. And when the striking is so close, that's such a standout, is 2.5 minutes of control time with the best position. It's not holding against the cage. I would agree that Volkanovski would win the round if Islam was holding him against the cage. If he had him off a takedown and was holding him like Khabib holds people, right, against the cage, just like wrapping up their legs, that's one thing. But to take your back, put you in a body lock and hold you, and with the cage there, so he can't really flatten him out the way that Aljo did to Jan. It's very hard with the wall there. It's hard with the cage there, right?
Right.
Still controlled him completely. At that point, in my opinion, it's Volk's job to get him off his back. Islam obviously has to work there as well, but to say he did nothing, he was hand fighting, and he controlled the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world for 2.5 minutes. That deserves a win, in my opinion, in that round.
I understand.
And the striking wasn't like enough. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
I get that. The striking wasn't enough, but I have to say this. Like, for example, in the Cyril Gane, Francis Ngannou fight, there's a moment where Cyril Gane is going for heel hooks. And in that moment, because when I look at that round, I actually gave it to Cyril Gane because I believe that he won the majority of that round. And in moments where both of them are just doing nothing, not landing any strikes, just in a better position, Cyril Gane had the most dangerous position of the round where he was going for a heel hook. In that moment where Francis Ngannou is doing nothing but trying to defend a heel hook, Cyril Gane is closer to finishing the fight. He is winning that moment, 100%. Agreed. But the difference is if Francis Ngannou is not at all worried and punching Cyril Gane in the face during that moment repeatedly for minutes on end, for example, Volkanovski, while he has his back taken, was punching Islam in the face. And sure, Islam is closer to finishing the fight, but we're not judging based on potential and what ifs if there are strikes being thrown. And that's all I want to say. If there were no strikes being thrown, without a doubt, Islam is the guy who wins that. And I understand the strikes that Volkanovski was throwing were not significant at all, and they were not going to do anything to Islam.
They're kind of love taps, to be honest.
That's my point. Is like Islam is more likely to finish the fight.
But anyway, I have to say this: that I just don't think that like having a body lock, which is also the hardest to get away from, so it's kind of the easiest to hold on to. It's hard to get to. It's the best to get to, but it's easy to hold on to. I just think that unless you're threatening chokes and trying to submit him left and right and punching him in the face. If Islam's punching him in the face the whole time, it's different. He was trying to submit Volkanovski. He couldn't do it. And he couldn't do anything to him. And to me, just being in that position is not enough when Volk is punching.
Dude, when Volk isn't doing anything either, it's like he's in a
his whole job is to punch.
His job is to get out of there, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't get out. That's it. I'm sorry. That's
because he knew that
control time for a reason. Because he's effectively grappling and controlling him, dude. Volkanovski cannot do anything from that position but punch backwards because he's done.
And I could argue that Islam cannot do anything with that position either. From that is the furthest he can get.
I agree. The hand fighting is there. The hand fighting is what defended Volkanovski so well. And I agree. There was points where Islam could have done more, but he didn't. But at the same time, if I look at the position,
this guy says something interesting. He says it's more of a stalemate. And I don't mind that because the strikes that Volkanovski's landing.
I don't agree, bro. Because
and hold on. And then if it is a stalemate, then you have to look at the rounds on the feet. And I think that
Islam caught him up with that elbow though. That was the biggest strike of the round.
It's not a stalemate. It's not a neutral position. It's not a 50-50 position.
He also had that huge body kick. No.
It's not a 50-50 position, but it is.
It's not. It's not even like the heel. It's not even like the heel hook of Gane and Ngannou because it's such a good position. The fourth round it's worth so much.
But hold on, it's even different than that because it's not like he had the arm around the neck. It's not like he was on the face at all. Even here's what I said: if Islam had him in a neck crank, it would have been different. He didn't. He didn't have anything.
No, I'm saying I definitely think he could have done more, but at the same time. It's such a the shots from Volkanovski are not fight changing enough, in my opinion, to where that negates the fact that Islam has him in the most advantageous grappling position that's worth the most in MMA by the rule set, right? He's closer to a finish inherently than Volkanovski is. He's controlled him for 2.5 minutes. That's half the fucking round, dude. And the striking was not enough to where I think Volkanovski was clearly winning and then Islam held on. I think Islam was looking for a choke at the start. The hand fighting was good. Volkanovski's been training with Craig Jones, bro. He's got good defense. I'm not denying that he did well in that position. But I'm saying if he got out of that position or if he reversed it and got on top, I'd give that round to Volk. I'd have no problem giving the round to Volk. But it can't all be on Islam. Some of it is on Volkanovski defensively.
I just think he wasn't being offensive after getting the body lock. After 40 seconds, listen, if he was constantly going for the choke, I'd understand it. He I'm kidding. I'm not kidding, bro. He was literally holding on and doing nothing at all. Like, I cannot, when you're getting punched. Listen, I'm not going to do this because it's literally crazy, but just imagine someone like just doing this 50 times. It would suck. It's kind of humiliating.
Yeah, but me having their back, I'm still winning. And you can tap some. You can. This is kind of like kind of a straw man. But I got
to. It's like holding on to their back. I mean, that's kind of like, it's a fight, bro. And if you're not doing any damage, I just don't. I can understand it. Like, I get it. I get the argument. I think that this is an argument that's not strong enough to be like,
it is frustrating. I can understand. I can understand that it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Also, I just rewatched some of the fourth round. There was a couple moments in the fourth round where Volk was like, when Islam rocked him. I mean, didn't really rock him, but landed some.
He did acknowledge a lot of shots. I don't think that helped him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I understand that Volk was acknowledging it, and maybe that wasn't the greatest move, but none of those like hurt him or anything. I wouldn't say
anyway. He was acknowledging them. That's enough to be like considered better than like a light punch.
It's gonna get the judge's attention, right?